it's when you travel a lot, there are things that happen that are sometimes simply unfair. And I mean past the regular stuff, past a delayed flight or anything. Years ago, I had a flight to Boulder, and I was coming from Chicago, and I had a window seat, and the man next to me was eating a whole rotisserie chicken. And when I say whole rotisserie chicken, I want you to understand, when you go to the grocery store and you see with the bubble, it was that. This wasn't just some chicken, it was a whole chicken. And there's nothing like when you meet somebody and they start out nice and then they betray you, right? Because we had a very cordial conversation initially, a very I'm not crazy conversation, then he switched up on me, right? They say that not all heroes wear capes. And apparently not all terrorists have bombs. Because the way it started is basically my man was in the middle seat, and you always have to be nice to the person in the middle seat, because if they're in the middle seat, their life is not going well right now, okay? Because this is the thing with the middle seat that people disregard. Whatever happened to you while you traveling also happened to them, right? Maybe you were delayed. Maybe your flight got canceled. Maybe you had to spend the night in the airport. All that happened to them too, and they're in the middle seat. So they're still having a worse day than you can imagine, right? And so I'm always nice to the person in the middle seat. So, we both sit down and everything, and then we look at each other, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I feel like I'm a pretty cordial person, very approachable and everything. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'd love to strike up a conversation and stuff. And he's like, oh, I'm great. And in retrospect, he was great because he knew what he was about to do. And then we just started chatting, right? He was like, why are you flying to Boulder? I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a show. Why are you flying to Boulder? He's like, oh, I'm going on business. I was like, he must love his business. Like, little did I know he was going to do the devil's business, right? And so we are barely diagonal. We're basically one wheel off the ground when he decides it's his time to shine, right? And so this man reaches under the seat. He kept it under the seat because he wanted people to think it was a carry-on, right? So he pulled this chicken from under the seat. I had no idea what it was because it was just in a bag, right? So he pulls this from under the seat, and he really pulled it because I guess it got stuck, so he really pulled it, right? And then he pulls up and he lifts it. And this man is bigger than me. And anytime somebody is bigger than me and making me nervous, I go through scenarios in my head of what could happen next, right? So then he pulls this bag up and he lifts the bag. Now the bag the chicken was hot, right? So the chicken was hot, so there'd been some condensation around the actual shell of the rotisserie chicken, so the bag was clinging to the chicken, so I can't tell what it is. All I know is it's heavy and wet, right? So I look over at the bag and it's got a little bit of steam coming out of it, and I'm like, that's why he was nice to everybody, because he got a bomb, right? And so then he grabs it from the bottom and starts peeling the bag off of the chicken, and I'm like, oh, okay. I wish it was a bomb. I think a bomb would have been easier for me to manage right now. This is actually going to be more upsetting than a bomb. I can already tell, right? And so this is my other thing too. How did this man get this past TSA? Because there's an organization specifically designed to stop this sort of thing from happening. How did he get this on? Because they took my water. I can't have my water, but apparently he can have 12 ounces of chicken juice. So then he holding it up, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you, even when we were just chatting and stuff like that, I thought he smelled like chicken when I met him. And I felt crazy because I was like, who just smells this much like chicken? I've never been around anybody before who and when I say he smelled like chicken, he smelled like he was the chicken, right? Like he smelled like he had just danced out the oven just now, right? Like he had chicken cologne, right? And so then he's got the bag, and usually I'm a very like live and let live type person, right? Just let everybody do their thing as long as it's not harming anybody, right? And I don't like when things are like exclusion just for the sake of being exclusive, just for the sake of other people not being able to have it, right? Like we made this price so some people can't come. We made this price and what. But I will say, I do like, we need to keep planes plane prices, because when planes are bus prices, bus behavior comes to planes. Because when he revealed a whole rotisserie chicken out of this bag, I was like, what in the Greyhound mega bus is happening right now? This is not behavior for the air, right? And so then he lays the chicken down on the tray table, and I've never seen this before, because I guess it was a big enough chicken that the tray table actually had some give to it. And I've taken naps on the tray table and haven't bent it back like that. That's an FAA unregulated amount of chicken. And I'm not gonna lie, as soon as I saw the chicken, as soon as I saw him put it out to put on a tray table, I tried to dissociate right there. I was trying to go somewhere else. I was like, ooh, I was trying to be anywhere else but right here, because I even put on my noise canceling headphones and just tried to pick a movie and just not be a part of what was happening right now, right? But okay. I've got them on, right? I picked the movie, and I am trying to watch Moana, okay? But all I can hear is the sound of him eating chicken. Babies can't get in here. Like, and when I tell you, this is how you can tell it was like premeditated too, because this chicken was still very, very hot, which means he got it right before the flight. That means he went to Albertsons and got a full rotisserie chicken, then was like, well, I have a flight. I don't think that's what happened. I think actually he was on his way to the airport, and he was like, I'm making good time. I got that pre-check. Let me make a stop by Albertsons on the way, pick up a snack, right? And so this man does not have a fork, because a fork would have got him caught, right? He just has the chicken on the tray table, and he is eating it with his hands like he is Henry VIII. And we are at a royal banquet dinner where the queen just gave birth, right? He really ripping into the chicken while picking his movie, right? Just fingers, 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 right? And so in my head, I'm like, what do I do? Because somehow this isn't illegal. See, that's a problem with our lawmakers, right? Our lawmakers write the laws after stuff happened. They're not thinking ahead to things that should never happen and writing a law for that. And likewise, with the airlines, they don't come up with the rules ahead of time. They wait for crazy stuff to happen, then they change the rules. But they should have sent it in your ticket, in your confirmation email for your ticket. They should have been like, hey, also, please don't bring any chicken from home, all right? We have all the chicken you need. The airport got you, okay? Because I don't remember this exactly, and maybe I'm not being fair, but I'm pretty sure the airport we were leaving from had a Popeyes. So he had access to chicken, but he wanted his own chicken, right? He was like, oh, they do it all apart and stuff. Let me get the whole thing. And so then I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so all right. I'm not proud of it. And I want to be clear, I didn't do this right away, right? Because even when he pulled out chicken, put it on the tray table, we are here. Like, he acted quickly, but by the time I did what I did, he had got down to the bone, okay? So he had a little bit of breast, a little bit of wing, a little bit of thigh. He had a good amount of his chicken. It looked like a crow had got to it by the time I did what I did, okay? But basically, I was like, I can't do this. I can hear it. I can't stop hearing it, right? And so I just pretended to fall asleep, right? Waited a little while. Even gave a couple, right? Because if you do the pig snores, people think it's a deep sleep, right? And so I pretended to sleep. And like, this is my thing. You probably experienced this. When you have somebody, maybe you're dating somebody and they sleep over for the first time and you see what type of sleeper they are, right? Because some people are like little squealers. Some people, some people are snorers, like, right? Some people are thrashers. I've been thrashed many times in my life. Actually, it is weird. You ever be sitting there laid up with your partner and then they thrash you and you're like, was weird that your fist was closed. Like, it's, but anyway, I'm pretending to sleep, right? I even hit him with the right, and then just after a while, I wait a little longer, and then I'm like, and then I had to like open one eye a little bit to make sure I really got the chicken, right? Because I didn't want to miss, because you don't get another chance, right? Like, if you miss that first time, he start protecting the chicken and everything. So, I opened my eye a little bit and I cleaned that chicken. Like, I Tiger Woods that chicken. So then the chicken flies off the tray table across the man in the aisle seat, right? I forgot to mention, there was someone else who witnessed this entire thing. I'm actually very interested in what his perspective was, because he didn't have headphones on, so he heard him eating the chicken in his ear. And I'm telling you right now, if it was bad for me, it was horrible for him, because the sound of a grown man eating a rotisserie chicken with his hands does sound exactly like a dog eating a person. It's just as horrific. The sound will never go away, right? I can hear it right now, right? And so then chicken shoots across him. It hits the tray table not the tray table, the armrest of the other aisle seat, and then it hits the ground, where I think it had some bounce to it because it still was mostly intact, so it was going to move like a chicken would move, right? Now, I got to keep my eyes closed again because I'm supposed to be asleep for this, right? But I do hear a muffled scream through my headphones, and I don't know what it was, because once again my eyes are closed. So I don't know. This is what I think happened. We were, as a plane, we were making a little bit of a turn. We were at a little bit of an angle, right? So we weren't still ascending, but we were like dipped a little bit like this. So I think that the chicken hit in the aisle, rolled back a little bit, must have rolled into a new person's aisle, right? And so then it rolled into their aisle, and they looked down, and all of a sudden they got their foot in a chicken, right? And that, because it wasn't a scream like, it was a scream like, and that's, And that's, I mean, any one of us would do that. If you were just on a plane and you were minding your own business, all of a sudden your foot was in a chicken with the bones in it. Like, your foot is in it and it's not coming off. It's a shoe now, so it's not coming off, right? We'd all be like, And so then I hear him through my headphones. He's like, what the hell? Like, he screams, what the hell, right? And so then I gotta pretend to wake up. So I'm like, oh. Oh, what happened, right? He's like, dude, you knocked over my whole meal, right? He's like yelling. I'm like, oh no, did I? I'm sorry. Can I get you another one? He's like, no, that's the only one I had. I was like, oh, can I buy you something else? He's like, no, I don't want anything. Just watch the. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. And then I did just have to sit next to that dude on the plane for the rest of the trip. I've never had anyone shoot me dirtier looks than this. He was just looking at me the rest of the flight like. I wish I had a bomb. We're really in it now, you know? We're really in it now. We have Kamala running, right? You want to know the wildest thing about Kamala running is I saw her first like 2 campaign events, right? And just to have somebody talking regular. Like truly just talking regular. I was like, she might as well have been breakdancing. The way she went up there and said thank you and was remembering names and stuff, she might as well have been hitting that. Like, yeah, it's wild. You know, because some people say that, you know, they don't see Kamala as president, but I see Kamala as president because I thought she already was president, right? And what I mean is, when Biden dropped out, I got a notification on my phone, and the notification on my phone was from a news outlet who worded the news very poorly in the headline, because I was at home and all I saw was Biden's gone, Kamala's in. And gone is a very, you gotta use gone very carefully when you talk about Joe Biden. You can't just be out here saying gone willy-nilly, right? And so when they said gone, I was like, oh, that was the COVID he got. Like, he got the real one then. If he gone, oh no. And then I realized that he had actually stepped away. He had dropped out, and I was like, "Oh, thank goodness!" Because like this is the thing that now that he's out of the race, I do think it's very important to have an honest conversation about Joe Biden, about his presidency, right? Because this is the thing that people forget about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a granddaddy, okay? So for a president, he seemed slow. He seemed a bit weak and frail. For a granddaddy, he was killing it. All right? Like, really take a step back for a second and think about the granddad. Think about your granddaddy, right? What's on the agenda in a day for your granddaddy? Really be fair. Really be honest with yourself. What do you expect your granddaddy to do in a day? First thing on the docket is to wake up, hopefully. Second, have some jam. Tell some stories. Yeah, watch some westerns, and then there's some naps to get got, right? You don't fly your granddaddy on 13-hour flights and then make him talk to a whole country and then be like, he doesn't seem up to the job. Like, because Biden was busy just being a granddaddy. Everyone loves to forget that. We went to Biden as a granddaddy, and we were like, hey, we need you to run. And then he was like, are you sure? And we were like, yeah, we think you're the only one that can do it. Please run. And then he ran, and then he won. And then for 3.5 years, nobody did any homework. Nobody did any building up of any other candidates. Nobody did any real research into who was next up. So then, election time comes along. They're like, hey, we need you again. And he was like, I'm more granddaddy now than I was before. They were like, please, Joe, come on, Because that's one thing that I don't know. I look at it and I think that both we and history should remember Biden for doing an incredibly patriotic and courageous thing. That stepping aside is a big deal, right? And I want him, it's something that I hope he always knows that we appreciate. For better or for worse, we appreciate it because, some people wouldn't have done that. Some people would have let their ego get in the way. Some people, because this man told the world, he met with world leaders and told them, guys, I'm running, I'm going to win, it's going to be fine. And then he had to drop out, right? Dropped out on a Sunday in a tweet. On a Sunday with a tweet with COVID. And I'm not gonna lie, maybe I'm not being fair, and that's okay, but I was furious at Biden when he got COVID. How dare you get COVID the same week Trump got shot at? Trump got shot at, blood and stuff, and then Biden over here, I was furious. But I really want us, and I think that it's something that I wish more leaders did, because in a weird way it did feel for a second like they actually listened. Because we had been saying, we were like, guys, I don't feel great. And then something happened. That almost never happens. This is America. And I think there's like this weird asterisk on his political career and on his legacy now, because then people are like, where does he go from here? He's still president for like 6 months, and we're already like, where does he go from here? Oh, that's so sad. I don't think it's sad at all. I think that Biden has a chance to stamp his legacy now. This dude he's done. He said he's done. He's not coming back. He's not running for anything else. He's towards his twilight years and everything. Like this is it. So he has the chance to do what every politician ever promises that they're gonna do. You gotta remember, when people run for the first time, they're talking all that good stuff, right? When people run for the first time, I'm gonna do this, I don't care, I'm not taking anybody's money, I'm gonna do this, and then they get in, and then they get got, right? Then all of a sudden they're talking like an assistant manager zombie. They're like, well, we have to really look at the votes. What did they do to you? But that Biden doesn't have that. He has to worry about a second term. He doesn't have to worry about next position. This dude could have the most radical presidency for the rest of the time that he's in office. He has months left to exact some of the craziest change you can imagine, because he's never coming back. This is it. This is what people wish our politicians had, right? Because you don't know who somebody is until they put in their 2 weeks. When somebody put those 2 weeks in and they're still professional and you're like, oh, okay, they really a good worker, right? Most people put those 2 weeks in and they're like, 2 weeks, these nuts. Dude, Biden right now has the power to just go ahead and just drop executive orders like mixtapes. This dude could just straight up say, hey, everybody gets free lunch and come and kill me. Right? Free school lunch for kids. Everybody get maternity leave. How about that? You can fight me in court. I won't be there. You can fight me in court. Right? And then you look at, you look at Kamala and what her campaign's going to be like, and what the opposition against her is going to be like. And it's already started in some sense, but you can tell that people don't really know how to attack her. Not exactly, right? Like, they're going to try the regular stuff, like the racist stuff and all this. She'll get some sexism. Don't worry, she'll get it. She'll get some sexism. But like really attacks, like things that make you go, ooh, I don't know about Kamala, right? They don't know. And you can tell they don't know, because I saw this, the one attack I saw against Kamala, this is wild. Okay, let me see. All right. No, I'm just looking around, because I feel like, look, I think maybe only the black people will get it first, but I'm going to bring everybody along, right? Because then basically there was an attack on Kamala where they were like, Kamala Harris's great-great-great-granddaddy was an Irish slave owner that went to London to oppose abolition. And then every black person I know was like, yeah. Sorta checks out. There's a reason it's her great-great-great-great-granddaddy and her great-great-great-great-grandma wasn't mentioned. And if you know, you know, right? That's what's so crazy to me, is that I'm not saying Kamala's the perfect candidate at all. And I, she said herself she's gonna have to earn and win your vote and everything, and she plans to do that. But I will say the last time somebody had to go back to the 1800s to attack a candidate was maybe never. That's so crazy. Her great. Yeah. But then you should ask some more questions, like, why is that? And then, oh. You know what I mean? Because the only people that caught it are the people who really understand slavery. And that's the thing that's so crazy, is that Republicans are trying so hard to attack Kamala, they may accidentally teach like, I thought you burned all the critical race theory books. I saw where the lottery, at least at the time that I'm speaking, has worked its way up to $1.8 billion. That's a lot. It's so much you wonder, should I? Absolutely. That's how they get you. Growing up my entire life, I knew people who played the lottery. and I don't know if I know any winners. I just know a few people went missing. And like hard missing too, not even a funeral. Like, I don't know, $1.8 billion. That means even after they tax you, tax is gonna take about half of that, right? Even after they tax you, you're probably gonna be a billionaire. Instantly. A billionaire. And I'm not saying this to like, beat down on anybody or be disparaging, but it's like, who plays the lottery? People who need the money. So imagine needing money and then becoming a billionaire in like a day. A day. You needed 252. You had rent and a car note, and now you're a billionaire. A billionaire. You gotta capitalize the B. It's $1 billion. Even if they get you real good, even if they tax you to death, you're still high millionaire. And with some good investments, you'll hit billionaire over time. Look at. I don't think y'all understand. This is the thing, we think we understand what billion is because billionaires keep playing in our faces. But we have no comprehension of how much money that is because we're people. Forget multiple, a billion. You can't even waste that, $1 billion. You can imagine. Oh, I had some bad investments. $1 billion's worth of bad investments? That's enough to topple a small country. No, because I look at the billionaires of the world and the high millionaires, so almost billionaires of the world. And in a couple of the examples that I'm thinking of, right? If you make it to billionaire status, whether it's through valuation of your country or your company, or whether it's through valuation of your company or just general assets and everything over time, if you hit that billion status and you didn't grow up with a ton of money, like if you're already a billionaire, it almost doesn't count. You'll see billionaires, they're the sons of billionaires, and they'll be like, I made my own thing. It's like, you didn't though. But you didn't. Like you never really did anything. Like it's, and look, I know you probably worked really hard, but your hard work had a $1 billion head start to it. So it's just, you could make a bad idea worth $1 billion. If you put enough money behind it with enough time. Look at Crocs. And look, that's not me. No, look, that's not me just dunking on Crocs for the sake of it. I'm saying as a shoe, you are so unprepared to go into the world. Every time it rains, you kind of feel it. I've had so many fights with my friends over Crocs, and it's not about the Croc or the design or whatever. It's about the fact that it's a Swiss cheese shoe. The holes make it a shoe problem. It is not like okay. I live in New York, and we have far too many. I don't even know the number. We have more, I believe, rats than people. I'm pretty sure there's probably 10 million for every 2 people in New York. And one time I was walking with my friend who had Crocs on. Ill-advised, especially in New York. If you want to wear Crocs in I don't know, like a beachy town, go ahead. Be comfortable. Let your feet breathe. Wearing Crocs in New York City, Wearing Crocs in New York City is like wearing a shirt that on the front and the back says, "Please rob me." That's the level of prepared you are to go out into New York City when you're in Crocs. My friend was in Crocs, and we were just walking down the street, okay? Just nice little stroll, having a conversation. And then, as you would expect when you were walking in New York, as it is almost law when you are walking in New York, a rat ran across our path. Some people have to deal with deers in the road. We have to deal with rats on the street. And this rat running across our path judged it wrong. Was a little late. You know, usually when you're walking in New York, a rat will run across you real fast up ahead. This rat must have had some hesitation. You could tell this rat was like, okay. You know what? I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Actually, no. You know what? I can do this. I can do this. Let me get. Ah! And then it ran across our path. But by the time it ran across our path, we were at our path. And this is upsetting. Sorry if you're eating. But the rat ran across our path. But by the time it decided to cross the sidewalk, we were already there. So this rat ran right over both my feet. And then it came time to run over my friend's feet. My friend in Crocs. And this rat looked exactly like, you know, with football players doing that spring training with the tires over here. The rat was nimble at first. It got through 2 holes, no problem. Third hole, rat tripped. Animals don't trip like people. You know what I mean? People might trip, be a little embarrassed, but we get up and we know we have a day to continue. If a rat gets tripped up in your crock, that's the rat's whole priority right now. Because to be fair to rats, they get trapped all the time. How is this rat supposed to know this isn't one of those rat traps that take you to rat heaven? And so this rat starts freaking out. Starts like trying to pull the other leg out and everything, but then the next leg gets stuck. And so now this rat it has been 0.0 seconds, by the way. This rat has already tripped and is stuck in 2 crock holes. And is over here fighting for his life to get out. Is doing whatever he can. This rat over here, And look, I'll be honest with you right now, I don't even know if I imagined it, but I swear I heard it. I heard where the rat got free because I heard the little... pulled the little foot out of the crock hole and then ran away. And then my friend, who had just been defending his Crocs, had the nerve to be like, I'm like, yeah, cut it off. You need to cut it off. Ran over my foot too, but look at me. Intact. And so you have even if it's not the company, the CEOs of these companies reach high $1 million billionaire status.
you know? And it happens usually over time. Usually, if you don't come from money, you reach billionaire status or high millionaire 20, 30 years of your life. And being a psycho as well, like working 80-hour weeks and like just doing crazy stuff. And sometimes you get to get ahead because you cut some corners or you cheat some people or whatever it is. But then when you turn around and you have this like multi-billion-dollar valuation, you did it. And it took all that time, but like you're, 30 years removed from when you started. These billionaires, these millionaires, the ones that don't come from like extreme wealth, takes 20, 30 years of your life to get that money. And look how evil they are. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what happens if you get it in a day. Look, for any amount of lottery winnings and for any amount of like money, when you dream about money, that's what we do. Someone's like, what would you do with $100 million? And you might even have a list already. What would you do? And you think you know what you would do. And I'm not even saying that people are lying when they say these things. I believe that people really believe this is what they would do with the money. But then you're a billionaire in a day. Nothing can prepare you for that. Nothing can prepare you for that much money being that much power in a day. I don't know, like, I know what I'd like to think I would do with that much money. Because the amount of money that you've been living on is the amount of money you need to live. Right. Like that, like, I know that in the US, like in America, that's like blasphemous to say. But it's like, even when I was broke, the amount of money that I had, which was not enough, was somehow still enough because I'm not dead. Do you know what I mean? And so obviously people need to get by. People deserve a higher quality of life and everything. I'm not saying this to say that if you're barely scraping by, that's all you need and be done with it. I'm just saying that sometimes you can get in your head, especially when you get a little more, that you need a bit more, and then you need a bit more, and then you need a bit more, to the point where people around the country who make six figures say they don't feel rich, right? And some of them making the high six figures. They've done studies about this and about why your brain never turns to rich when it's you and it's over time. You'll see millionaires say, well, I'm comfortable, but I'm not like rich. And then you're glad that it's through a screen, or else you might. But, I don't know. I mean, what would that do to a person? A day. A billionaire. Who knows? Maybe money really does change people in a way that you can't even fathom until you have that much money. Maybe you get $1 billion in a day, and out of nowhere, you don't even recognize yourself. $1 billion. And you're just like, wow. Huh. I could use some slaves. I think that... Look, I don't know what makes you so evil as a billionaire over 30 years, but I can only imagine it's exacerbated when it's overnight. Like, I can only imagine it becomes instant when you get the money instantly. That's crazy. Because look, we all have a list. Even if you act like you don't, you do. If you want that much money overnight, you might have a list. There might only be 5 things on your list. Hey, I want to take care of my friends, take care of my family, want to travel, and I want to help in a way that I've been helping, but I didn't have the money to really push the help, right? So that's what, 4, maybe you have 5 things. But then, after you do all that, maybe you have some money left over. What do you do with that money? Can you make another list? Can you make a bigger list? Maybe. But if you can't, You just keep trying. Oh, let's fix the roads. Let's try to fix the school system. But then there's still some money left over. What do? I think you might lose your mind. That's probably why billionaires are like that. Because think about it. Look, their list didn't have any of the stuff I mentioned on it. But even though it didn't, it clearly had things that they cared about, whatever those were. And maybe they were only related to their company. Maybe they were only related to more business and getting more money. But even as those things got checked off and you tried to keep up with the list, you tried to make more goals and you were meeting the goals as fast as you were making the goals and everything. And then everyone around you is a yes man because they want some access to that money because they're also trying to climb, right? And then you finally have gone down the list so hard that you're just like, maybe Mars? What about Mars? Mars would be cool, right? Like, Mars would be dope. Does people starve? Mars, though, that would be dope. And it's like, yes, it sounds dope. And I hope he goes. I hope he does. Like, that'd be fire. If he went to Mars. Spend your fortune as the richest man in the world to be the poorest man in the universe. Because I guarantee you spend your whole life and then you finally, let's say it finally happens, you have a voyage to Mars. And let's be as generous as possible, and let's say that like the rocket works, you already send enough stuff there that it's not like quite the movie The Martian, but it is like that because you are going to be by yourself. No, I'm just, probably. And then you land in Mars. Richest man in the world. Lands on Mars, gets out, is walking around and realizes that Mars is just like Arizona with some extra tent to it. Like, looking around like, oh, okay. Whoops. Because money is, we'd like to think that it's more than this, and sometimes it is. You can point to points in history where it is more than this, but like America is money. Land of opportunity. Opportunity is access, but it's also money. Money is how we define identity. Maybe you don't as a person. Maybe, I don't believe any one person is just their job or their net worth. There are things that you are that are deeper than all that stuff that's going to pass away. But that is how we as Americans define each other, is money. In fact, when you get your identity stolen, it's because they mess with the money. I don't know of anyone who said they got their identity stolen and it was in a Lifetime movie sort of way. I have yet to meet anybody who said they got their identity stolen and they know it was stolen because they came home and there was a dude who looked just like them hugging their wife. And they were like, honey, it's me. And then she was like, And then the imposter was like, don't listen to him, honey. It's me. Can't you tell? And like, hey, what are you doing in my house? And then the kids run in. They run up to him. Hey, Dad, who's this stranger? What? Kids, it's me. And they're like, we don't know you. Our dad's been home all day. And then you have to fight with this dude. And then, there's somehow a gun in the house that nobody knew about. And then y'all struggle, and then y'all are spinning, so then nobody knows anymore because y'all were wearing the same thing. Who's the real husband? Who's the fake husband? And you're over, you're just running around, grabbing the gun, knocking the gun out of each other's hands, and then, there's some bounty commercials in the middle because this is a a Lifetime movie. But then you pick up the gun and you're like, get out of my home, stay away from my family, right? And then the imposter goes, ah, and then runs up to you and y'all hug one last time. The gun goes off and nobody can tell who was shot until what is it? Until the Nair commercial. You know, like Nair, that one, like, I've watched a lot of Lifetime with my mom and my aunt. And so then they come back from commercial and y'all are both backing up and you're like, Somehow in a movie, whenever somebody has been shot and someone shot someone, they both react the same. I always find that very annoying. The person that pulled the trigger is like, but then the person who was shot is like, And then y'all back up. The gun falls. It falls in the middle. We don't need any more. One of you was shot. And everybody's backing up, and then you see some blood. You see blood, and then you see blood because y'all were hugging when it happened. So whoever got shot also bled on the other person. So it's been about 5 minutes, and we still don't know who was shot. Very frustrating. And then finally, one of you goes, you'll always be my family. And the other one turns around and looks at you. And the wife and the kids go, Dad! And hug them. And then credits start rolling. The picture gets a little bit smaller because they got to roll the next movie right next to the other movie. So it's like it gets that little half-size thing where the credits are rolling, which actually sort of ruins the end of the movie in case there was any other note of anything that the director wanted. But anyway, and through the credits, through the little tiny half screen, you see the person hugging the family look up at the camera and go, and identity is never stolen that way. It's always stolen in relation to your bank account. No, because that's who you are. That's who you are to the bank, and that's who you are to any business entity is your money and the number that you are. You know. Now look, I would like to think that everybody knows that everyone's more than that, but that is how you break down. That's how you're calculated. You know what I mean? You're moved around as a number, and the numbers that make up the numbers you have are how people see you. You know? So when you get your identity stolen, it's not because they actually stole who you are. They stole who you are in a version of how people see you for your money. Having your identity stolen is terrifying because you don't know when you'll get out from under this. It's you. It's you. But the bank doesn't know that. You might as well show up to the bank like you just got home to see your wife and kids, and there is an imposter next to the bank teller's booth right with you. Y'all might as well be shoulder to shoulder. Like, no, I'd like to make a deposit. No, I'd like to make a deposit. Because you also have to factor in what that money doesn't just do to the person, what it does to the people around them. Some of y'all may not remember this. I barely remembered it until I started just reading about people who had won the lottery and what usually happens. Because there's this myth that everyone that wins the lottery goes bankrupt and ruins their life. It's not actually true. It's about half. Which are better odds than winning the lottery. And the difference between the people who crash out and the people who do well are the decisions they make as soon as they win. And now it's almost down to a science. There are people who are financial advisors that seek out lottery winners to help them because they've done it for other lottery winners and stuff. But there was this one woman. It was crazy. This happened in the 90s. I think it was 1990, right? This woman was a server, and she got tipped a lottery ticket. And so she, put that lottery ticket in, and she won. She won $10 million. And then everyone around her turned. The people who were also on shift with her, they tried to sue her. Because I don't know if this is one of those restaurants where, sometimes you work as a server and everyone's tips are pooled together and then you split them at the end of the night. Or if it was just that they were saying that was their table. I don't know what all the lawsuits were, but I also know that the man who tipped her the ticket tried to sue her. Yeah. Her ex-husband even kidnapped her. And she had to shoot him in the chest. The chest is one of the wildest places to get shot. Because there's still some plausible deniability there, but you know where you were aiming. And then the IRS came for her. Walls closing in all around money. Because people will do crazy things for money, and people will let the idea of money shape how they treat a person. Money is only second to people in the idea of something that's in front of you that means a bunch of different things. People can mean the whole range of emotions to you, but so can money. If someone won $10 million, if they won $1.8 billion, some people see that as money, but a lot of people see that as hope. They see it as power. They see it as like a salvation out of their problems. They see it as whatever your imagination can mold. Because there are some people that if you got given $1 billion right now outright, there's so much good you do with it. And then there are other people that if you got $1 billion tonight, you'd be like, oh, I have some things to revisit. $1 billion. $1 billion means, you could buy everything around a person. You could buy everything around. Imagine for $1 billion, you could hire a private investigator to find your high school bully. All right. Because let's say they're not on, maybe they're not on social, not everybody is, and so you hire this private investigator to find your high school bully, and maybe this bully gave you like a really catchy, mean nickname, maybe it was something that happened to you, something real bad. Maybe you got sick at school one day, and maybe you didn't make it to the bathroom, right? And so he called you Wet Willie for 4 years, right? In this scenario, your name is Willie, and you hire this private investigator to track him down. Maybe his name's Travis, right? You're like, find me Travis. And so then the private investigator says, hey, I found Travis. He's living in Connecticut, and he's married, and yeah, looks like they're pretty happy. And you're like, okay, this is good to know. And so, with your money, you buy the house that's for sale next to Travis. You're moving in one day, and Travis and his wife are walking in to their home, and you're moving one of the boxes. Nothing in the box. You don't need to move. You can pay people to move for you, but you're like, oh, hey. Travis? And he's like, oh, Willie, Will, wow, how have you been? Wow, this is crazy. Are you? Yeah, I'm moving in right next to you. That's crazy. That's crazy. He's like, yeah, that is. Wow, this house has been on sale for months, and now it's what a coincidence. And you're like, yeah, coincidence. Yeah, that's what it is. And you see that not only do you have this nice house in front of you, but, ooh, Travis has a phenomenal house, you know? There's an HOA, so they're pretty similar, but overall, very big and very nice, you know? And right then, Travis's wife walks up, Susie. Susie walks up, and she's like, "Hey, babe." And then he's like, "Hey, me and William went to high school together. This is my wife, Susie." And you're like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." You shake her hand, and you're like, "Wow, this is crazy to just, you move to a new place and you don't know. Usually you don't know anybody, and now I got pals right next door." And Travis is like, "Yeah, this is wild, man. You should come over for dinner sometime. Come over for dinner." And you're like, "Oh, wow, how's tonight?" And Travis, because this is the thing about bullying. A lot of bullies don't remember what they did. And even if they remember what they did, they remember it in the context of whatever they were going through. And so even if they were like a mean kid, they just remember being a mean kid because other stuff was happening. I don't know how often real bullies think about the fallout of their bullying and what it might have done to somebody present day, So maybe Travis is perfectly pleasant. Easy to believe. It's been a long time, And so he's like, "Yeah, I think... no. Okay, we do have a little date night tonight, but how about tomorrow? Tomorrow night, we should have dinner. You just come over to our place. We'll cook for you." And you're like, "Wow, yeah, Travis, it sounds great. All right, I'll see y'all later." You take your empty box. Walk into your new house with no furniture in it. But you don't need furniture. You're here for revenge. The type of revenge that only money can buy. And you're so excited, you don't even know if you can sleep. And so you lay on the floor of your brand new house. Because hate makes you comfortable. And then the next day comes, right? The next day comes, and you've had a private investigator on Travis for a while. You even had a private investigator on Susie. You already know her name. And so the next day, during the day, you go over to Susie's workplace. Susie works at a salon, right? And so you go over and you're like, "Hey, what? This is crazy. Wow. Susie, neighbors, and then I need a haircut? You do hair? Wow." Get Susie to give you a haircut, and when you're getting a haircut, when you're getting the wash, the shampoo, the conditioner, and everything, there's time to talk. You get to know a person. Or pretend to, because you already hired a private investigator. So you land in the sink and y'all are chatting it up, and you're a personable enough individual, so y'all are cackling back and forth. And then at the end, Susie puts the mirror in front of your face, and you're like, "Wow, a magician. Truly incredible. Thank you so much." And then you go to pay, and then you put a $10,000 tip on your haircut. Susie's floored. What? "I can't accept this." "You absolutely can. I haven't felt this good in years. You made me look like a new man." In fact, I don't know, I'm sorry, I never do this, but are you doing anything after work? And Susie's like, yeah, the dinner that we have. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. But, okay, I don't know, it looks like salon's closing up and everything. Dinner wasn't gonna be for a little while. I don't know, do you want to hang out for a little bit? We're gonna end up chatting anyway. Let's just chat. Let's just have a chat, and then, we'll head over to your place. And you're like, does that sound okay? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. It's fine. Yeah, I'll close up here. And then you're like, okay, yeah, hop in my car, right? And she hops in your car. It's very nice. It's ridiculous. It's whatever car is nice for the period we're in. So just imagine. Imagine the type of car, and it is that. And Susie's also impressed. She's like, wow, okay, you must have done very well for yourself. And you're like, yeah, I do all right. Because then, no matter what car it is, I assume it goes fast, right? And then he's like, actually, I know I'm new to the neighborhood and everything, but can I show you something? And she's like, yeah, sure, okay. And you drive. You end up driving to this like little patch of land that's off by the wayside, and there's a small little airfield there, and you park, and Susie's like, what is this? And you're like, oh yeah, I got a call, it was a text while you were doing my hair and everything, and there's just something I have to check out over here, so let's just walk through. And you walk through this little air hangar, and it's to your private jet. And she's like, wow, you have a jet? And you're like, yeah, I do. I mean, I guess it's a false alarm. There's nobody that needed anything. Yeah, nobody's even here. I tell you what. How about this? I know we're supposed to have dinner tonight at your place, but why don't we go to Paris? She's like, Paris? You're like, oh, I'm sorry, do you prefer Milan? We can go to Milan. What are you even saying right now? I'm like, oh, no, I'm just saying, we're supposed to get dinner. Let's have dinner. We have dinner without Travis. And then she's like, oh. I don't know what to say. What is the tip? And then now he's invited. I'm married. No, I know. I don't know. Now? Yeah, now. Actually, you know what? And then the stairs. Wow, my heart is just skipping a beat. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And you're like, great. And so then you both hop on the jet and taxiing and everything. And just before takeoff, you send Travis an audio message of the entire thing. You add a little something at the end. You're like, this is from Wet Willie. Because now you have $1 billion, and you could be good, or you could... Because that is how bad things are now. We used to make fun of people that played the lottery, and now it seems like a sound fiscal decision. It sounds like a sound business plan to save a little money, put a little away, and buy some lottery tickets. Just, you know, it's either buy some lottery tickets or, you know. Lean in front of a BMW, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta lean in front of a BMW, coming at about, I don't know, slowing down, so hopefully about 12 miles per hour, you know what I mean? Enough to do some damage, but not quite kill you, you know what I mean? Like when you get hit, it's gonna make that sound. You're gonna hear some stuff. Some of that stuff's gonna be you, and some of it's gonna be the car. You might even lose consciousness for a second, but you will, you know, hopefully wake up. And there's some real technique to it too. I don't know if you saw that video. There's a dude who you could tell he was too you could tell he was too nervous. He shouldn't have done this, and not just because it's fraud. He shouldn't have done this because you could tell his heart wasn't in the grift. You know what I mean? His heart wasn't in it. Like, some people, the grift is who they are. They buy into the grift completely. When I was a little kid, my elementary school teacher got into a fender bender, right? And got in a fender bender with this dude and bumped him just enough to get a little bit of separation, but you could tell that she had hit him, and he immediately got out of his car, went into the trunk, pulled out a neck brace, and laid on the ground, right? Which, if you're gonna do that, just wear the neck brace the whole time. Then you'll even convince the person that, you know, I'm not gonna tell you how to grift, but so if you're gonna do this, you gotta commit. You gotta know long before this BMW takes that turn at the intersection that this is what you're committed to do. And there's a video of this dude. This still cracks me up, right? Okay, so this dude is over here. You can tell he wants to jump in front of the car. Maybe he has the whole insurance scam planned out and everything, can sue, whatever. You just gotta let a BMW hit you and hope it's not a rental. Yeah. Oh, nothing would make you madder than getting hit by a broke person. And so then it's over here waiting, right? And like, just from the CCTV, because this is how I watched it, right? Just from the CCTV and the clip, you can tell that there's some nervousness in the knees. Like, the knees don't scream commitment. You know what I mean? Like, they're not, his feet aren't amped to do it. They're not like hoppy feet. You know what I mean? Like this is like, ooh, I'm gonna do some fraud. Ooh, you about to get defrauded. Right? But he had more of a, oh, okay. All right. Okay. Oh, all right. And you could tell he was thinking too much about how he was gonna land. That's the problem. Because you gotta know, if you're gonna jump in front of a car, you gotta know, okay, am I gonna be mostly grill or mostly windshield? All right? Both have their drawbacks, all right? Now, grill will push you forward. It'll push you forward an amount that will make you look dead to a bystander. So that is a good way to go if you're trying to do this with witnesses, and witnesses who are not in cahoots with you, right? Windshield is very dramatic, right? Windshield is very theatrical. Usually when you see, they do a lot of windshields on like Law and Order SVU. That's usually, you know like when somebody running from the cops and they can't seem to catch them. They give them just enough room for them to run out of the streets for the cop who didn't feel like running to hit them with the cop car. It's always very convenient when it's like 3 cops and then 2 of them run after a suspect, and then one of them is like, oh, all right. And then sure enough, they're always there at the right time to just bow, right? Now, if you're gonna go windshield, just know that some glass could crack, okay? And it's worse if it doesn't. If the glass doesn't crack at all, you got hit by a big bullet, okay? But if the glass cracks and you roll over the glass and maybe you land on the side of the car, that also looks very bad. But depending on how you hit the windshield depends on how believable the hit is. Because when you get hit by the grill, you're just taking the hit, right? Just boom, boom. High risk of being hurt. Very high risk. Windshield looks a little bit more, oh no! Ooh, you got me. Oh, what will I do, right? Because you can't really control your body as it gets hit and it's on the windshield. So you hope you go over the windshield. That looks like a very bad hit. But if you stay on the windshield, it starts to look like your fault even if it wasn't. Like it's just, the optics aren't great. And if you slide off to the front, it looks like you didn't get hit fast at all. And so you see this dude, okay, all right. And then he goes for it. But not only did I see him in the clip, in the CCTV video, you know, like thinking about it too hard. The person in the BMW also saw him thinking about this very hard. And it didn't help that he chose to do this at an intersection, which means they were going to be slowing down anyway. And so then he finally goes to jump into the street, and they've already come to a short stop because they saw him coming. But look, he's already put a lot of thought into this. He will not be denied. And so even though the car is almost at a full stop, he goes, obviously the claim didn't go far. But you could do that, or you could play the lottery. You know what I mean?
Because I really do hope that the person or the people that win, like have a good life and do something well with it. There's so many scams now. Sometimes if the person's identity is known, that's actually what like ruins their life, because then there are scammers who will never meet this person, don't know this person, but then they will masquerade as them online, hitting up people around this person trying to get whatever private information so they can scam that other person, not even the lottery winner, you know? And it's why people have become more savvy. Now you have lottery winners all over the world, not just in the US, and not just for like the Powerball, Mega Millions, or any of that. Now you have lottery winners in the US show up with like a ski mask on. So many lottery winners look like they're there to rob the lottery. You know? And I don't know, I just look at the lottery as like maybe one of the best metaphors we have for how America is. You know, because you know, we all participate. That money is pooled together, and it is, and I don't mean in terms of ownership, I just mean in terms of how the money came to be there. It is all of our money. It is all of our money pooled together for 1 to like 6 people to have. In fact, sometimes you'll watch the lottery. You'll watch someone win, and you'll be like, huh, wow, I worked at a company like that. That's crazy. Because some of what the lottery trying to make it in America is luck. We like to think it's hard work, because then that means everybody could do it. But that's not actually the case. I know people who have worked hard my entire life, and
and they were on a hamster wheel. They were on a treadmill, and they were just trying to keep up because somebody was pressing the speed up on the hamster wheel. That's what it feels like is happening to everybody right now. You know, you're doing your best, and the speed just keeps. And then, you know, some people are on a treadmill where the speed just keeps getting increased. Some people, look, to their credit, they have some golden handcuffs. Maybe they're doing a little bit better than everybody, but the margins that they live in are just as thin. And so they're on like a Stairmaster. They're up higher than the people on the treadmill, but, you know, they still run the risk of falling off at any given point. And so the other person's running as hard as they can. This person's stepping as high and as fast as they can, because if they can skip a step, it's not going to keep them good forever, but it'll keep them level for a while. And so everybody's working as hard as they can. People who make six figures are still thinking, I don't really have enough to get by. That sounds crazy to anybody who's living off of less than 50K, somewhere where the standard of living, you need to be at like 80K. There are people scraping to get by. And so rather than just accepting that this gym sucks, people just keep going as hard as they can until, you know, until they, either their heart gives out or they end up in one of those like fail videos. Because look, it's $1 billion. It's a billion. That's a lot. And I know it's the lottery, and I'm just making an example. I'm not specifically speaking to everyone to like go run up to the lottery office or something. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. I think that we have let the lottery basically become one of the better ways to get ourselves out of a mess, you know? And it only gets you out of the mess. Maybe you can bring some people along with you. That's nice. That is nice. But you don't know everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you know your friends and your family, and that'd be very sweet for you to take care of your friends and your family, but you don't know everybody. You don't know everybody's intentions. You don't know what everybody's going to do with the money. You don't even know if giving some of these people the money is the best thing to do. You have no idea. And maybe it's why, speaking outside the lottery now, maybe it's why like people shouldn't be able to amass that level of wealth. Not because I want to take from somebody the thing that they have for whatever reason. Maybe they really did earn it. I don't see how, but like maybe they really did earn it. Maybe they deserved every like $50 million bonus that they ever gave themselves, right? Maybe they know their heart and they know that they really deserve this money. But maybe, you know, they laid off a bunch of people and they bought a bunch of stock back and they did some stuff to do some stuff to get some stuff, you know? And so I'm just saying is, you know, it's one thing when it's a lottery. It's a different thing when it's like our entire, you know. Because then they wonder. I don't know. Then they wonder. They're like, why is everybody so mad at us? It's like, oh, you can't not really get it. It seems crazy. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm an American. I would love $1 billion. It's probably part of the problem.
Not